I'm getting old, getting older by the day. I'm getting old, I'm getting old and grey. As you can see, I may be getting old and grey, but you can bet I'm not past it yet. Thank you kindly, folks. Oh yeah, my name's Mondo, and this is my second YouTube video. Because I like watching YouTube, I've discovered in my retirement and my old age that it's probably more interesting than most of the telly that's out there. I do watch telly as well, but I do like watching YouTube because it can be educational, informative, and just interesting. Yeah, and it passes the time. It's something to do. And as you get older and retired, you find that it's good to find things to do and pass your time rather than sitting in the corner covered in cobwebs and getting older and greyer. So, this is my second YouTube video, and I've discovered, I'm still learning about YouTube videos, that there's two forms. One's called YouTube videos, and they can be as long as you want, really, as boring as you want, long-winded, and you can edit them and do all sorts with them. Oh, and also you can add a thumbnail, I've discovered, to a YouTube video. So that's one form. And then the other form is YouTube Shorts. And Shorts are, as the name describes, videos, but short. And in the old days, I think they used to be limited to 1 minute, possibly, but now you can have them a bit longer. And the format, like the visual format, is YouTube video can be widescreen, like on my phone's turned sideways at the moment. And CinemaScope, things like that. Whereas a short video is usually like your upright phone, portrait style, or it can be a little square screen. So that's what I've discovered about YouTube so far. And also, unless you want to put in the comments and educate me even more, I'm not quite sure. I should have read round it a bit more, shouldn't I? But that's as much as I've gleaned so far. I also discovered when I did my first video that my voice sounded a bit naff and muffled. I'm a bit northern, so I'm a bit monotone anyway. And I'm trying not to be as monotone, because when you look at the YouTube tutorials, it says make your voice more dynamic and exciting. So I might try some of that. Anyway, so I discovered that little microphones and the phone weren't picking up very well. So I went and got this little USB microphone. Bloody brilliant, isn't it? Actually, off good old, Amazon. Other providers can be used, like Temu or Woolworths. No, Woolworths don't exist. Boots, Currys, anybody. Anyway, got two of these for £8. £8. The technology nowadays, I compare it to James Bond, really. When I used to watch the James Bond movies in the old days, Emmett would come along and say, Bond, we've got this new device for you. It's a tiny microphone. It's the ultimate in technology. It's worth £3,000 per instrument. Please don't break it. And also, don't press this button here because it might self-explode. So I'm not pressing that button. So I've discovered that the microphone is helpful to make my voice sound a bit clearer. Also, I remember from way back when I did a bit of training. I've done some training in the past due to my careers. I've worked in environmental health. That sounds really boring, doesn't it? That was interesting. And then from environmental health, I moved into medical field. So I trained as a nurse. Back in the old days, I was also worked for supermarkets, so I was a retailer. So went from retail to local council, then to becoming a nurse on a ward. I can tell you some stories. Anyway, to be a nurse, you had to come up with presentations during the training, and try to be succinct and clear. They didn't video them in them days. You just sat in front of your mates in a class, and that was probably scary. I just used to end up laughing. Anyway, the tutor came along and said, "Ray, you've got a northern drawl, so you can't help that. But also, you keep repeating similar words and the same words over and over, and it gets a bit annoying." I said, "Oh, thanks, Mrs. Jones, very much for that, for making me feel so inadequate and humiliated." He said, "No, it might serve you in good stead." So when I listened to the YouTube I made the other week, I realised that I was doing all the time. And do you know what I mean? And a lot of people say like, don't they like? They say like, and you know. So, and anyway, that's one of them. They're called speech moderators or modifiers, and we all do it because it gives us time to think about what we're going to say next, or it gives us time just to breathe, or gives us time to feel comfortable in ourselves. So we have these familiar little phrases that we come out with, and most of us don't know we're doing it. So what, have you got one? You probably have got one, maybe. Have a think about it. Ask your friends, video yourself and watch yourself back, and that's when you discover. So I'm trying not to use the you know what I mean, like, as much, so it doesn't get on your wick. So, like I say, this is my second YouTube video. I might make a little short out of it as well. And basically, it's all about getting old, because I'm getting old. I've got experience in that. And, but not getting past it, because I believe you're never too old, and you're never past it. There's always something more to do out there, or more to learn. So I keep myself occupied. As you can see, I play guitar very averagely. And I wrote that song myself, obviously, because I've discovered that if you do try and sing somebody else's song on YouTube, then they could claim copyright. So you're breaking one of the laws. We'll go into this a bit deeper at some point, won't we? Well, we've never gone along and looked at some of the tutorials, or I've read up on it. So I'm trying not to go sing anybody else's songs at the moment. I do quite a lot of stuff, really, to keep me occupied. Now, we all had occupations. Like I say, my occupations, my careers changed over the years. That rhymes. Could make a song of that. My careers changed over the years. As you get older, you get bigger ears, apparently. Nothing else gets bigger. Well, maybe your nose. Other parts of your anatomy tend to shrink a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to worry you if you're younger than your late 60s, like what I am. But as you get older, I'm just passing on tips and advice. So, occupations, I had quite a few. And now, when you become retired, some people feel a bit obsolete. You sit down and think, I said to myself one day, what am I doing with myself? I've got no purpose in life. No purpose, because I'm not working or earning some money or anything. And I'm getting too old, to become a professional footballer. I was never any good at football. I could run. Yeah, run away from people and run into trouble also. I'm rambling on now. I apologise. Anyway, so I had occupations, and I believe that once you retire and you become old and people are saying you're getting near past it, Well, no. You need to, it's good to occupy yourself. So I have occupations now. One is playing guitar. I've got other occupations. I like to walk. I like to travel. I paint a little bit. I throw darts. My son's a really good dart player. So I've sort of jumped on the bandwagon there because it's become quite popular in the UK at the moment, darts. So I dragged my old darts out of the dusty attic and I started throwing those again. That's interesting. I've got quite a few hobbies. So there's always something to do. And I've looked at some other YouTube videos to glean a bit of advice, on YouTube, obviously. Yeah, it helps to look at YouTube videos on YouTube. And about, old and aging people like me who go on there and they're saying, like, the retired pensioner, and they'll do a YouTube video saying, can you survive on a state pension? Here's what we should discuss. Yes, we need to be very financially and monetary careful. For instance, I now use the tea bag twice instead of just once. And when I buy a pint of milk, half a litre, as it's called nowadays, I water that down to a dilution rate so that it lasts me longer. Do you know? So I'm not going to discuss things like that, I don't think. But if you want to discuss what it's like getting old and not past it, put some comments in there. Anyway, I'm boring myself a little bit now. I've got other things to do. I mean, I've got to pack something to send on eBay. You don't have to use eBay. There's Gumtree, there's Pre-Loved, there's all those other organisations, but I still use eBay. So I've got some packing to do. Because it's good to make a little bit of money by selling off your old articles. I've got plenty of old articles knocking about in my loft. Have you? Tell me if so. Anyway, I've got to go now. And I hope this YouTube video was very informative. Not informative, bit interesting, made you smile. Or did it make your blood boil? So many angry people out there nowadays. It makes my blood boil. What's happening today out there as I'm getting older? I stand in the queue at the bus stop and there's no bloody buses. No, I haven't caught a bus for a while, actually. I used to like going on coach trips. Anyway, that's another story. So I'll say see you, and I'm getting old. I'm getting older by the day. Getting old and grey. One thing for sure, you can bet I'm not past it yet. See ya.